My saxophone's better than your saxophone. No, my saxophone's better than your saxophone. No, I'm better. No, me, by me.
Hey everyone, I'm the Saxophone Oracle, and this week we're talking about buying beginner saxophones. On almost a daily basis, I see people posting in the various saxophone forums and blogs questions like, what saxophones should I get? What is the best saxophone for an absolute beginner? And this is an excellent and understandable question. In fact, it's probably the most searched topic on the entire net about saxophones. The problem is that unfortunately, the internet is probably the worst place to go looking for answers. Because sadly, most saxophone players are way too over-opinionated about everything, especially gear, and the so-called experts out there are generally always trying to sell you something. Anyone who follows my channel knows that I'm not a gear guy. I absolutely hate wasting my time talking about saxophone gear because as far as I'm concerned, all you need is one quality saxophone and one good quality mouthpiece. That's it. But I felt the need to chime in on this topic because for beginners, there's so much conflicting information out there that they have to sift through. Now, unlike most saxophone blogs online or other YouTubers, I don't do product reviews. I'm not an influencer. I don't have any endorsements, I don't do Amazon affiliate links, and I'm not trying to sell my viewers absolutely anything. Now, this is a bit of a problem for me because how am I ever supposed to monetize all the time and energy I put into making these videos? But all that to say is that whether you agree with me or not, I'm giving you the most honest and least biased information that I possibly can and that you'll probably find anywhere else on the internet. What do you need in a saxophone? Well, what you want is a horn in good working condition, which means it shouldn't be bent, it shouldn't be covered in rust. That doesn't mean it has to be cosmetically beautiful, but the instrument has to work. All the keys need to open and close freely. The pads of the instrument, they both need to be in good condition and they need to seal well. So when you push down a key and close it, that pad needs to seal so that air isn't escaping, otherwise known as leaks, because that's going to make the instrument difficult to play. You're going to want an instrument that's free-blowing or relatively easy to play, and you're going to want an instrument that plays relatively in tune. And I say relatively in tune because saxophone's not an instrument like guitar or bass or piano where you can tune it perfectly and leave it. You're always going to have to compensate somewhere. So you want an instrument that doesn't make you work too hard in order to play it in tune. But most important of all, what you want is an instrument of solid and quality construction so that it doesn't need constant repairs because repairs are expensive. Are there different types of saxophones? This is another understandable question because if you're a beginner who's never played an instrument before, well then a saxophone is just a saxophone, right? Wrong. There are actually 4 commonly used saxophones. We have the soprano saxophone. The alto sax. Tenor sax. baritone saxophone. You probably want to start, like most people do, with the alto saxophone. And the reason people start on alto saxophone is because 1, it's the easiest to play, and 2, it's the most economical choice. Sure, if you already know something about saxophones or you know you want the sound of a tenor, then knock your socks off. Go get a tenor or a soprano or a baritone. But most people start on the alto. And you don't have to worry that should your taste change sometime down the road that you've wasted your time. Because whatever you learn to play on alto saxophone, for all intents and purposes, easily is transferable and applies to all the other saxophones. How much does a good saxophone cost? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? That's what everyone wants to know. And understandably, no one wants to overpay for something, especially when you're just starting out. But it's important to be realistic here. We just discussed what you need to find in a good quality instrument. And for better or for worse, a good quality instrument tends to cost more than people want or might expect. And it's really tempting to go with the cheapest option, but that's usually not the best thing to do. I liken buying a saxophone to buying a car because most everyone knows what it is to have to buy a car, and saxophones are really no different. We have a new market and a used market, right? You can go in and buy a bare bones saxophone that's going to get you from point A to point B, so to speak, or you can get something fancier with all the bells and whistles. There's a vintage and collectible market. You can get custom saxophones. And of course, on the used marketplace, you can get just about anything and everything. Just like with cars, you will pay a premium and inflated sticker price for a shiny brand new instrument. And again, like with cars, it will depreciate basically instantly by about 50% the minute you walk out of the store. Which means that the used market is really the best place to get value and quality for your money. But like with anything used, buyer beware. New saxophones. As mentioned, you will pay a premium for that shiny new instrument, and it will also lose about half its value the second you walk out of the store. So it's no way a good investment. But what you get with a new instrument is that you can be sure it's in good, working, playable condition. It's going to come with a warranty and some sort of after-sales service. And if you buy that instrument from a reputable instrument manufacturer, you can be sure that if you take care of it, it will last you your entire playing career, whether you decide to upgrade your horn to something fancier down the road or not. So if you have a reasonable budget to work with, a new instrument is a very attractive option. What is the best brand of saxophone? There quite literally is no best brand of saxophone. There are lots and lots of manufacturers out there. Some have been around for a really long time, some are relatively new on the marketplace, and some have already come and gone, but their instruments are still available either new or on the used marketplace. What you need to be concerned with is getting a horn of good quality construction, good workmanship. That's it. Everything else comes down to personal taste. Professional level horns, they're all good. You can't go wrong. Picture a bunch of millionaires arguing over cars. Well, I like the Ferrari. Well, I like a Bentley. Well, I like the Rolls Royce. I like the Porsche. I'm more of a Bugatti man, but Dirk over here, he likes the Maybach. And unfortunately, when you research horns online, that's pretty much what you get. Again, I'm not affiliated with any companies, and I have absolutely zero stake in whatever horn you may or may not buy. But there are 4 companies that are tried, tested, and true that make excellent entry-level quality instruments, and you can't go wrong with any of them. They are Yamaha, Selmer, Jupiter, and Buffet Crampon. They all make excellent quality entry-level instruments that cost brand new anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 US. That's right, about $1,000 to $1,500 US is what it'll cost for a quality new entry-level instrument. What about a sax on Amazon for $300? Yes, everyone is eyeing those horns for $300 on Amazon. Why? Well, because they're cheap and they come in an array of beautiful colors. But here's the straight talk about those cheap Amazon horns. If you truly only have $300 to spend on an instrument, and for whatever reason the used marketplace isn't an option for you, then yes, one of those $300 Amazon horns will work quite well for you for a little while anyway. Now, I don't have the time or money to go trying each and every one that's out there, but over the years, I've tried several of the different ones, and I have to say they all sound pretty good. They play relatively easily when they're in good shape, and they play relatively in tune. So it will do the job for you if you're just starting out. The thing is, to make a musical instrument at that low of a cost, corners have to be cut, and they cut corners absolutely everywhere. Not only is the metal that they use really soft on these instruments, and that's going to require you to have to get it readjusted all the time, everything about them is cheap, right down to the type and the amount of glue they use to hold in the pads, put on the corks and the felts. And you might be saying, well, Oracle, I don't really care if they use fancy glue or not. But the thing is, all those things adjust the instrument and determine how well it plays. So if a pad falls out, you can't play the instrument. And sure, you can put more glue and stick it back in, but it's usually not as simple as that, because you have to sit it and sit it in the cup properly so that when it closes, none of the air escapes. Otherwise, the horn's not going to work right. And usually you're going to have to take this to a trained repair tech to do, and trained saxophone repair techs are very expensive. Your average saxophone repair person is going to charge anywhere from, say, $20 to $60 an hour, depending. Now, let's say a pad falls out. And let's say it falls out of this guy here, or maybe even this guy. Well, if that's the case, in order to put that pad back in, likely the repair person is going to have to take off the entire left-hand stack. So all of the keys that the left hand of the saxophone would play. So we're talking some pretty invasive surgery on your brand new instrument. And you'd better believe if there's not enough glue holding in one of these, then very soon all the other ones are going to start popping out as well. Now, while that repair person is dismantling your horn, likely some corks are going to come off, some felts are going to come off, maybe a spring will break, and they'll have to do all kinds of other adjustments. And as you can see, very quickly, you're going to be looking at a repair bill that is more expensive than what you paid for that instrument in the first place. And the other thing is that most repair people won't even touch those horns. And they give their clients all kinds of excuses like, oh, I can't get the parts for it because it's a really odd brand out of China or something. And that's not true, because unless you break a key, a pad is a pad, cork is a cork, a spring is a spring. The real reason is they have a customer come in, they do a repair, the customer leaves, 2 days later, 2 weeks later, something else goes wrong, and they come back and blame the repair person. They want it redone, or they want it done for free, whatever it is. And I'm not a saxophone repair person, but believe me, all it would take is one client coming back to me like that, and I would immediately institute a policy: no more touching horns that are inexpensive off of Amazon. But if you truly can only spend, say, $300 on an instrument, and you don't mind putting in the time and the effort learning how to tinker, repair, and adjust the horn on your own, there's really nothing wrong with these horns per se. They all sound pretty good, they play pretty well, and they play pretty well in tune. So it is a viable option if you have a very, very tight budget. But Oracle, what about this brand or what about that brand? Surely there are more than 4 reputable brands. Yeah, there are lots of brands out there. Some are better than others. And there are lots of options between the $300 price point and the $1,000 price point. Right now, there are a ton of people making big noise and saying all kinds of good things about this saxophone called Jean Paul, which costs about $600 on Amazon. And most big saxophone stores even have their own house brand of instruments that are inexpensive. No doubt these are good instruments, and some of them are excellent instruments. The thing is I've never tried them, so I can't give any kind of recommendation on them. And the other thing is that I mentioned saxophones are going to lose about half their value the minute you walk out of the store. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the big named saxophones. So you might buy one of these other off-brand saxophones and it'll be great for you and you're going to have a great time and be very happy with it. And that will be fantastic. But if ever you try to unload it and sell it, if it doesn't have the name Yamaha or Selmer or Jupiter or whatever on it, you're going to have a next to impossible time getting rid of it. You're basically going to have to give it away. To finish up today, I'm going to talk about used saxophones. Now, if you're looking for the best quality saxophone at the best value, you should definitely be looking at used saxophones because they sell for about half of what they cost brand new. And personally, in my entire life, in my entire career, I have never once bought a brand new saxophone. I mean, why would I? In my opinion, it's a complete waste of money. The thing is, you just have to make sure that a good technician looks it over before you buy it. Simple as that. I mean, these horns get advertised all the time as basically brand new or only played once or twice. And that may be the case, but what often happens is someone plays a saxophone, they try it once or twice, it's not for them, they put it in the closet for a decade or two, and then they pull it out, and sure, it looks shiny, brand spanking new, but maybe it needs to have all the pads replaced. And then that repair bill is easily going to cost you more than it would to buy that saxophone brand new. So just be sure you have a good tech look it over and you should be fine. Or better yet, find yourself a good tech before you even start shopping for instruments, because good saxophone technicians have lots of clients. They know who has what kind of condition they keep their horns in, and they probably know who's selling a horn that's in your price range. I'm the Saxophone Oracle. I hope this answers many of your questions. I think it's wonderful that you're thinking about playing this instrument because it is a lot of fun and it can be very, very rewarding. The key takeaways from this week: make sure you invest in a good quality instrument. It's going to make the learning that much more enjoyable and fun. Remember, there's no one brand that's better than the others, especially if you stay among the more reputable brands. And be realistic about your budget. You know, if you're looking at a used instrument, you're going to be looking anywhere from $500, or for a new instrument, anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 at the entry level. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing, send me a thumbs up, a like, reach out to me in the comments or by email. All these little things go a long, long way in making it easier for others to find the content I'm creating. I wish you a great week. Happy practicing. See you next Tuesday.